Today we're going to do a tag that has to do with books and numbers. How does that work? Well, we'll get into it in just a moment. And that tag is the Booktube numbers tag. I was tagged by the Book Buds, and if you haven't had a chance to check out the Book Buds, they are a fantastic channel and you definitely should. I will link them down below if you want to check them out. All right, so books and numbers. First question is, what was your first Booktube video? I honestly didn't remember, so I had to go and look. And I had done, my first video was like a video about two different books. One of them was The Green Witch, which is a nonfiction witchy book. And then the other one was a book called Wintering. They were both nonfiction reviews, which is funny because I've fallen off of reading a lot of nonfiction. I try to do at least one a month, but since joining Booktube, I feel like I've really fallen off on reading as much nonfiction as I used to, and I need to get better at that. But anyways, I digress. Question 2. How many books are you currently reading? Now, a lot of times I'm reading more than one, but for some reason at this current moment in time, I am only reading one book, and that is The Girl with a Thousand Faces by Sunyi Dean. Our next question is, what were the top 3 books that you read last year? King's Sorrow by Joe Hill. Amazing dark fantasy on the edge of horror. If you haven't read it, I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. That was like one of my #1 reads of the year. And my other one was The Stand by Stephen King. First time reading it. I loved it. It is probably my favorite Stephen King book ever. If I could say the Dark Tower series was one book, it's a series. So I would choose the Dark Tower over The Stand. But The Stand kind of also ties into that because Randall Flagg. And then my third best one was Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by Clay McLeod Chapman. All 3 of those books are truly fantastic, and if you like horror/dark fantasy, would highly recommend. Next is, how many books did you read last year? I read 112 books, which anytime I get over 100, it blows my dang mind. I like books. Next is, how many books have you rated as 5 stars this year? And I have 6. One of those was The Book Witch by Meg Schaefer. Absolutely fantastic, cozy, emotional fantasy with darkness around the edges. It's awesome. Then also the first Dungeon Crawler Carl book, which is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. And then book 2, Carl's Doomsday Scenario. Also The Butcher's Masquerade. Those were like my favorite Carl books so far. And those were all 5 stars for me. And then I had 2 other 5 stars. One was Snake Eater by T. King Fisher. And then The White Octopus Hotel by Alexander Bell. All these books are awesome. Absolutely loved them. 5 stars, hands down. And I think my biggest surprise out of all those was Snake Eater by T. King Fisher. Absolutely awesome and weird. Next is, do you have a reading target for this year and are you on track? So I don't ever like to stress myself out. That's why I only now do one readathon a year, because I have a really hard time sticking to a TBR or a list of things I'm supposed to read. I'm a mood reader, and then when I can't get to stuff that I want to, it stresses me out. So do 1 readathon a year, and I set my goal lower than my expectations, so I know I'll always hit it. So every single year, my goal is 75, which still is high, but I know that I'll always get to that. I'm already at 50 so far, and we're about halfway through the year, so we'll be fine. Next is, how many pages long is the book that you are currently reading? And that is 306 pages. That is The Girl with a Thousand Faces by Sunyi Dean. Next is, how long are your videos? And that varies greatly. Sometimes they're 5 minutes, but they can be up to 25 minutes. And I also make shorts. Those are usually less than a minute. Next is, do you have a favorite number? I was going to try to be funny and say 666. That's not really my favorite number. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I have one. Next question is, do you have a book on your shelves with a number in the title or on the cover? Sort of. I have Nosferatu by Joe Hill. The 4 and 2 are actual numbers within the spelled out title. The 2 is also a 2 in that. And then I also have the book Episode 13, but I don't know if that counts because the word 13 is spelled out. And that one's by Craig DeLuey. And that book is awesome. If you haven't read Episode 13, I would highly recommend it. It is weird and paranormal. It has a labyrinth in it, and I have a thing for horror books with labyrinths, and it's great. Okay, so this is part of the video where I'm supposed to tag people, but I'm weird about that because life is busy. I know people don't always have time. I don't want to put pressure on people, but if you enjoyed this video and think you'd like to do this tag, consider yourself tagged. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.